Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. What if the answers you've been chasing all your life about success, peace, purpose, and clarity have been within you all along? In today's fast-moving world, we're overwhelmed with distractions, comparison, and pressure to always be doing more. We measure our worth in likes, followers, and to-do lists. But what if there was a different way to live? One that brought more meaning and less noise? In Think Like a Monk, Jay Shetty shares a life-changing perspective shaped by his time as a Vedic monk. He gave up a high-profile career path to live in silence, service, and spiritual discipline. And what he brought back from the ashram wasn't ancient advice locked in history. It was timeless wisdom that anyone, anywhere, can apply today. This book isn't about becoming a monk. It's about learning to think like one, to train your mind, protect your peace, and live a life guided by values rather than voices. It's about letting go of ego, fear, and negativity and replacing them with purpose, presence, and love. In this full summary, here on Summary Lens, we'll take you chapter by chapter through the core lessons of the book. You'll discover how to quiet the noise, rewire your mind, and move through life with deeper focus and fulfillment. Whether you're seeking calm in chaos, clarity in confusion, or simply a reset in your daily routine, this journey is for you. Komeya Chapter 1. Identity. What if everything you think you are, your name, your job, your personality, is just a mask you've been taught to wear? What if the version of yourself you chase every day isn't even you? In this first chapter, Jay Shetty holds up a mirror to the modern mind and asks a question that changes everything. Who would you be without the noise of the world telling you who to be? Jay begins this chapter by sharing a personal story. Standing in a college lecture hall, surrounded by ambition, competition, and noise, he realized that while everyone around him was chasing success, he wasn't sure why. He had been told that good grades equal a good job, and a good job equals happiness. But something about that equation felt hollow. That moment marked the beginning of his journey toward monkhood. Jay argues that the biggest problem in modern life is that we don't live authentic lives. We live conditioned ones. From childhood, we are told who to be, what to want, and how to measure success. Family, friends, school, society, they all place invisible labels on us. Slowly, we begin to define ourselves by them. I am smart. I am weak. I am not creative. I need to make money. I must get married by 30. But these labels, though familiar, are often not our truth. They're simply borrowed beliefs. This is where Jay introduces the idea of the false identity, a persona we build from other people's expectations. We often chase goals not because we want them, but because we've been conditioned to want them. A degree, a title, a house, social status. These things aren't wrong, but when they become our identity, we lose connection with our real self. And that's when anxiety, burnout, and dissatisfaction take root. To begin reclaiming our true identity, Jay encourages us to practice dharma, a Sanskrit word meaning inner calling or purpose. Dharma is the intersection of what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what brings you joy. Unlike a career, which can change, Dharma is your inner compass. It remains even as your path evolves. Jay teaches us to ask deeper questions. What values guide my choices? Am I living in alignment with what matters to me? Whose approval am I really chasing? He warns that many people climb the ladder of success, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. You may win the race, but if you're on the wrong track, winning doesn't make you free. True freedom, he says, comes from self-awareness. Jay offers a powerful exercise called the 3 Identities Test. 1. Who are you trying to impress? 2. What values are you living by today? 3. Who would you be if you stripped away titles, labels, and roles? He also draws from ancient Vedic wisdom, explaining that monks strip away distractions to reveal their true selves. That's why they shave their heads, wear robes, and live in simplicity, not to reject the world, but to quiet it enough to hear their own soul. He says we don't have to live in a monastery, but we do need to create space for stillness and reflection. Otherwise, we're just reacting to life, not creating it. One of the most profound lessons from this chapter is the shift from living externally to internally. Most people let the outside world define their identity, but monks work the other way around. They build their lives from the inside out. Jay closes this chapter with a reminder that hits hard. If you don't break your false identity, life will break it for you. In times of crisis, loss, failure, rejection, we're forced to face who we really are without the masks. But you don't have to wait for life to shake you. You can begin that inner work now. You can ask, what is truly me? And in doing so, you begin the journey, not to becoming someone new, but to returning to who you truly are. Chapter 2. Negativity. Have you ever walked into a room and felt drained just by being around certain people? Have you ever replayed a single hurtful comment in your mind 100 times while ignoring the 5 compliments you received the same day? That's the power of negativity. It's sticky, it's toxic, and it spreads faster than we realize. In Chapter 2 of Think Like a Monk, Jay Shetty shines a light on one of the most overlooked forms of mental pollution: negative energy. Whether it comes from the people around us or from the thoughts within us, negativity slowly poisons our peace, distorts our perception, and keeps us locked in cycles of stress, resentment, and self-doubt. Jay begins by explaining that monks are trained to detect, avoid, and cleanse negativity before it takes root in the mind. In contrast, most people in the modern world become so used to negativity in conversations, news, gossip, and inner self-talk that they no longer recognize its damaging impact. Jay explains how negativity is like mold. It grows silently in the dark corners of our mind, feeding on our insecurities and fears. He outlines 3 common sources of negativity: complaining, comparing, and criticizing. Each of these habits, when unchecked, becomes automatic and destructive. Complaining weakens our resilience, comparing steals our joy, and criticizing, whether others or ourselves, corrodes our confidence. Jay also emphasizes how the company we keep affects our energy and mindset. Just as spending time with someone enthusiastic lifts your mood, being around negative people, those who constantly complain, gossip, or judge, can lower your emotional frequency. He introduces a concept called energy circles, which monks use to protect their spiritual well-being. Jay encourages readers to observe the people in their lives and categorize them into 3 zones: uplifters, neutral, and downers. This isn't about judging others. It's about becoming aware of how your environment shapes your thoughts. You don't need to cut everyone off, but you do need to set boundaries and protect your inner peace. Another key theme in this chapter is self-awareness. Jay reveals that most of the negativity we experience doesn't actually come from the outside world. It comes from how we process what happens to us. He explains the importance of watching your thoughts like a silent observer, without judgment. When a negative thought arises, instead of reacting or suppressing it, a monk is trained to notice it, question it, and gently let it go. Jay shares an ancient technique used by monks called spot, stop, and swap. Spot the negative thought. Stop yourself from feeding it, and swap it with a positive or constructive one. This isn't toxic positivity, it's conscious rewiring. We're not pretending problems don't exist. We're simply refusing to dwell in negativity when we can rise above it with perspective and purpose. The chapter also dives into the concept of karma, not as a mystical force of punishment, but as the energy we create through our actions and thoughts. Negative thoughts and behaviors don't just affect our mood in the moment. They accumulate, creating patterns in our lives. Jay explains that every thought is a seed, and what we water grows. If we feed anger, jealousy, or criticism, we grow more of it. If we nurture compassion, gratitude, and understanding, our inner world begins to reflect peace and strength. To close the chapter, Jay gives a practical assignment. Perform a negativity audit. For one day, observe your thoughts and interactions. How many times did you complain, compare, or criticize? How did it make you feel? Were there situations where you could have responded with kindness or curiosity instead? Jay reminds us that awareness is the first step to transformation. You can't control every situation, but you can control your energy, your reactions, and your environment. And that shift alone can free you from years of emotional clutter. Negativity, when left unchecked, becomes the background noise of our lives. But when we start filtering what we allow in and intentionally choosing how we respond, we begin to clear space for peace, joy, and clarity to enter. Monks don't live in silence to avoid the world. They quiet the noise to hear their truth. And in this chapter, Jay shows us how to do the same. Chapter 3, Fear. What would your life look like if fear didn't hold you back? What dreams would you chase? What risks would you take? Who would you become? Fear is one of the most powerful forces in our lives. It disguises itself as logic, safety, caution, or practicality. But deep down, it's what stops us from growing, loving, and living fully. In this eye-opening chapter, Jay Shetty explores fear not as an enemy to be destroyed, but as a signal to be understood. Drawing from ancient wisdom and his own experiences as a monk, he helps us unmask fear's many disguises and teaches how to face it, transform it, and move through it with strength and purpose. Jay opens the chapter by acknowledging a universal truth. We all live with fear, but what separates a fulfilled life from an unfulfilled one is how we respond to that fear. He explains that fear is often learned, not innate. As children, we only feared things that posed real physical danger: falling, fire, loud noises. But as we grow older, we absorb fears from our environment: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of being alone, fear of not being good enough. These aren't just emotional experiences. They become filters that shape how we see the world and how we behave in it. Drawing from Vedic teachings, Jay introduces a powerful framework that monks use to break down fear. He explains that fear is often rooted in attachment, our clinging to outcomes, identities, or expectations. We fear losing a job because we're attached to status. We fear heartbreak because we're attached to a person. We fear failure because we're attached to success. But monks are trained to detach, not in a cold or disconnected way, but in a peaceful, liberating one. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're no longer controlled by the things you care about. Jay emphasizes that when we let go of our unhealthy attachments, fear begins to lose its grip. He then dives into how fear affects our decision-making. Often, fear masquerades as rational thinking. It tells us it's not the right time, or you're not ready, or what if it all goes wrong? Jay calls this the voice of fear disguised as wisdom. But if you pause and dig deeper, you'll find that the voice isn't grounded in truth. It's grounded in limiting beliefs. To counter this, Jay suggests we practice asking better questions. Instead of, what if I fail? Ask, what if I never try? Instead of, what if they reject me? Ask, what if I live my whole life hiding my true self? Jay also explores the biology of fear, explaining how the brain is hardwired for survival, not happiness. The amygdala, our fear center, is constantly scanning for threats. But in modern life, those threats are usually psychological, not physical. A negative comment on social media can trigger the same stress response as being chased in the jungle. The key is not to eliminate fear. That's impossible. The key is to train your mind to pause, observe, and respond instead of react. Monks use meditation and breathwork to create space between stimulus and response. That space is where transformation begins. In one of the most powerful parts of the chapter, Jay talks about the fear of death, which underlies many of our anxieties. Monks confront death regularly, not to be morbid, but to gain clarity. When you become aware that life is short and unpredictable, your fears begin to shrink. The things that once felt terrifying, failure, embarrassment, change, begin to feel small compared to the regret of never living fully. Jay encourages readers to meditate on impermanence, not to scare themselves, but to wake themselves up. Fear often thrives in imagined futures, but when you live in the present, fear has no place to hide. The chapter closes with a practical practice called the Fear Journal. Jay suggests that you write down your fears in detail: what you're afraid of, why you're afraid, what you think will happen, and how you would handle it. This simple act of naming your fears, looking at them honestly, and questioning their truth can be incredibly freeing. Most of the time, our fears are exaggerated shadows that shrink when we shine light on them. Jay leaves us with a powerful reminder. Fear is not your enemy. It's a messenger. It's a mirror. It shows you what you care about. It shows you where you're stuck. And if you learn to face it instead of fleeing from it, fear becomes the doorway to growth. Monks don't live without fear. They live beyond it. And you can too. Chapter 4. Intention. Why do we do what we do? Is it for success, validation, approval, or is it because it truly aligns with our purpose? In Chapter 4 of Think Like a Monk, Jay Shetty explores a powerful truth that monks have lived by for centuries. The idea that intention shapes reality. Most people focus on actions, working harder, doing more, achieving goals. But without the right intention, even success can feel empty. Jay reveals that true fulfillment doesn't come from what you do. It comes from why you do it. And in this chapter, he invites us to look beneath our behaviors and uncover the hidden motives that silently control our lives. Jay opens the chapter by highlighting how the modern world overemphasizes doing while underestimating being. We're conditioned to measure our worth by our productivity, how much we accomplish, how busy we are, how quickly we achieve results. But monks are taught the opposite. In the ashram, intention is everything. A task as simple as sweeping the floor or serving food becomes meaningful when done with the right mindset, whether that's humility, service, or devotion. Jay explains that when intention is pure, even the smallest act becomes sacred. But when intention is polluted by ego, pride, or greed, even the most outwardly impressive achievement becomes hollow. He then dives into the 4 common intentions that drive most people, often unconsciously: fear, desire, duty, and love. Fear is when we act to avoid something: rejection, failure, poverty, loneliness. Desire is when we act to gain something: wealth, status, power, praise. Duty is when we act because we think we're supposed to, out of obligation or tradition. Love is when we act from a place of authenticity, generosity, and connection. Jay urges readers to pause and examine their choices. Are you chasing your goals because you truly love them, or because you fear what will happen if you don't succeed? Are you staying in a relationship, job, or lifestyle out of duty, or because it genuinely aligns with who you are becoming? He explains that living out of fear or desire creates anxiety and restlessness, while acting from love and clarity brings peace and contentment. Jay also shares the Sanskrit concept of dharma, which means purpose or sacred duty. Unlike the Western idea of a job or career, dharma is about living in alignment with your unique gifts and higher self. When you live your dharma, your actions serve both you and the world. But finding your dharma requires looking inward, asking yourself what makes you feel alive, what comes naturally to you, and how you can use those gifts to uplift others. Jay shares his own experience, leaving the corporate path, becoming a monk, and later transitioning into a purpose-driven life as a coach and storyteller. He makes it clear that finding your dharma isn't about having all the answers. It's about following the breadcrumbs of curiosity and service. In practical terms, Jay encourages readers to start setting intentions for everything, from small tasks to big decisions. Before you post on social media, ask yourself, why am I sharing this? Before you take a job offer or start a relationship, ask, what's driving me, love or fear? This habit of intentional reflection shifts your energy. Instead of reacting to life, you begin to design it. Your actions become more meaningful. Your mind becomes more focused, and your life begins to align. He also warns against external motivation becoming your main driver. When your intention is to impress, outperform, or seek approval, your emotional state becomes unstable, constantly swinging based on how others respond. But when your intention is rooted in service, growth, or learning, you become unshakable. Monks don't work to please others. They work to purify themselves. Jay invites us to bring that same clarity into our lives. The chapter concludes with a simple but profound takeaway. Intention is the seed, Action is the plant. Outcome is the fruit. If your intention is clean and aligned, the results, even if not perfect, will feel fulfilling. But if your intention is off, no amount of success will ever feel like enough. Jay challenges us to live not just intentionally, but intentionally aligned with our purpose, values, and highest self. Because when intention leads the way, peace follows. Chapter 5. Purpose. Have you ever felt like you're living on autopilot, doing what you're supposed to, chasing goals that others expect of you, yet still feeling empty inside? That quiet discomfort, that nagging sense that something's missing, that's the soul's way of asking, what's my real purpose? In this transformative chapter, Jay Shetty helps us explore one of life's biggest questions: why am I here? Not in a vague philosophical way, but with clear, practical steps to uncover your dharma, your unique path, your calling, your gift to the world. Because monks believe that the greatest tragedy isn't death, it's living without purpose. Jay begins by telling us that many of us confuse passion with purpose. Passion is about what excites you. It's internal and personal. Purpose is about how you use your passion to serve others. It's outward-facing and deeply fulfilling. You might be passionate about music, writing, or technology, but your purpose is found in how you use that passion to uplift others, to heal, to teach, to inspire, to solve real problems in the world. To help us discover our own purpose, Jay introduces the monk's model called Dharma, a Sanskrit term that means inner calling or sacred duty. Every monk is trained to identify their Dharma early in life because it's believed that true peace only comes when your actions align with your soul's intention. Jay simplifies the search for purpose into a practical framework. Passion plus expertise plus usefulness equals purpose. You must start by identifying your passions. What do you love? What makes time fly? Then your skills. What are you good at naturally, or what have you practiced? Finally, your service. How can these be used to help others? That's where purpose lives, at the intersection of what lights you up and what lifts others up. Jay dives deep into how most people live by default instead of design. They follow career paths chosen by parents, influenced by peers, or based on money, not meaning. The problem with this is that even when we achieve external success, we often feel unfulfilled inside. Jay points out that purpose gives suffering a meaning. Without it, even the smallest setbacks feel unbearable. But with it, even the hardest struggles become part of the journey. He quotes Viktor Frankl, who said, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." Jay shares personal stories from his time in the ashram about monks who woke up before dawn not out of obligation, but out of devotion. Their lives weren't flashy. They didn't chase fame or fortune, but they radiated peace because every act, even sweeping the floor, was done in alignment with their dharma. He encourages us to shift from achievement-based identity to purpose-based identity. Not what you do, but why and how you do it. He also discusses the concept of varna from ancient texts, your natural strengths and tendencies. According to this, every person falls into one of four energies: guide, teacher, healer; leader, protector, organizer; creator, artist, innovator; maker, doer, builder. Understanding your energy helps you navigate toward roles that fit your essence, rather than forcing yourself into a mold just because it looks good from the outside. Jay stresses that your purpose doesn't have to be huge or world-changing. It simply has to be true. Whether you're a barista, a coder, a parent, or an entrepreneur, purpose isn't about your job title. It's about how consciously and selflessly you serve through it. To help solidify this path, Jay recommends 2 exercises. 1. Purpose timeline. Map your life and look for patterns in the moments that made you feel most alive and useful. 2. Circle of service. Ask yourself, who do I want to serve? How do I want to serve them? What problem can I help solve? He explains that when you lead with purpose, life becomes simpler. You say yes more clearly. You say no more easily. You stop living by other people's expectations and start aligning every action with what truly matters. Jay ends the chapter with a powerful reminder. Your purpose isn't found, it's revealed moment by moment when you begin living with awareness, courage, and service. The more you show up for the world with love and clarity, the more your purpose begins to shine through everything you do. Chapter 6. Routine. What if the secret to peace, productivity, and inner strength isn't in some life hack or motivational video, but in the boring, unglamorous routines we ignore every day? In this chapter, Jay Shetty reveals that the foundation of a monk's life is not magic. It's routine. While the modern world chases spontaneity, monks lean into structure. Because they know your routine doesn't restrict you, it frees you. It builds the mental clarity, emotional discipline, and inner strength required to live with purpose. Jay begins by reflecting on his first few weeks in the ashram. Coming from a fast-paced, chaotic lifestyle, he initially found the repetitive nature of monastic life. Waking up at 4 a.m., meditation, cleaning, chanting, eating simple meals, almost suffocating. But slowly he realized something profound. Routine creates rhythm, and rhythm brings peace. Monks wake up with the sunrise not because it's a rule, but because it aligns their body and mind with nature's cycle. They meditate at the same time every day to discipline their thoughts. They eat the same meals in silence to reconnect with presence and gratitude. Over time, this repetition becomes powerful. It trains the mind to be calm, the body to be balanced, and the soul to be focused. Jay emphasizes a core idea. Your mind thrives on predictability. When you don't have structure, your energy gets wasted on decision fatigue. Should I work now? Should I scroll? Should I rest? Should I cook or order food? All these little decisions drain your mental bandwidth. But with a clear routine, your day flows effortlessly, and your mind can focus on what truly matters. He explains that most people resist routines because they associate them with boredom or rigidity. But in reality, lack of routine creates chaos. Late nights, missed goals, unstable moods. He challenges us to flip our mindset. Instead of asking, "What do I feel like doing?" ask, "What do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel?" Jay introduces the time zone of the mind framework, breaking the mind into three mental states: the monkey mind, restless, distracted, reactive. The monk mind, focused, present, disciplined. A consistent routine is how you train the monkey mind to become monk mind. It's not about perfection, it's about practice. Jay then shares his monk-inspired model called the Time Mastery Matrix, a tool to help people design their day with intention. It divides activities into high-value personal time, like meditation, journaling, movement; service time, helping others, working with purpose; growth time, learning, reflecting; fun and joy time, creativity, connection. He explains that we don't need 10-hour spiritual days to feel fulfilled. Even a short morning ritual, 10 minutes of silence, 5 minutes of gratitude, one small act of kindness, can ground us and give our day direction. Jay's point is clear. It's not how much time you have, it's how intentionally you use it. One of the most powerful stories Jay tells in this chapter is about how routine saved him in the toughest moments of his life. When he returned from monk life back to the real world, he struggled with rejection, uncertainty, and confusion. But what kept him sane was his spiritual routine: waking up early, meditating, journaling, reflecting. These rituals anchored him when everything else felt unsteady. Jay also addresses the modern trap of always being busy. He says that productivity without presence is just glorified distraction. True routine isn't about packing your calendar. It's about creating spaciousness for meaning. That's why monks start the day slowly, not rushing. They end the day in silence, not screens. He challenges us to adopt digital discipline, setting boundaries with our phones, emails, and social media so our minds can recover and recharge. He encourages us to design morning and evening rituals. In the morning, focus on stillness, clarity, and intention. In the evening, focus on reflection, gratitude, and letting go. Jay ends this chapter with a truth we all need to hear. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If you want to be calm, focused, and fulfilled, build the routine that supports that version of you. You don't need a monk's lifestyle, just a monk's mindset and the commitment to show up every single day. Chapter 7. The Mind. Your mind is your most powerful tool, but left untamed, it becomes your worst enemy. It can create imaginary fears, replay painful memories, compare you to others, and pull you away from the present moment. But monks know something most of us forget. You are not your mind. You are the observer of your mind. And once you learn to train it, you unlock true freedom. In this final and transformative chapter, Jay Shetty teaches us how to understand, train, and master the mind using powerful tools from ancient wisdom and modern psychology, so we can finally experience peace not as a temporary escape, but as a way of life. Jay starts by explaining the difference between the monkey mind and the monk mind, a theme woven throughout the book. The monkey mind is unsettled, anxious, distracted. It jumps from thought to thought, constantly reacting. The monk mind, by contrast, is calm, focused, intentional. It observes, understands, and then responds with clarity. The problem is, most of us never learned how to work with our minds. We let our thoughts run wild, judging, fearing, comparing, and believe everything our mind tells us. But monks know the mind is like a muscle. It must be trained. If you don't train it, the world will train it for you through noise, fear, media, and pressure. Jay introduces the concept of thought auditing, learning to recognize what kind of thoughts dominate your inner world. Are they critical or compassionate, fear-based or growth-oriented? He suggests a practical method: spot, stop, swap. Spot the thought. Stop and challenge it. Swap it with a thought that serves you. He explains how our thoughts shape our emotions, and our emotions influence our actions. If we don't pause and become conscious of our mental patterns, we keep reacting the same way, stuck in the same loop. But once we develop the awareness to observe our thoughts without getting pulled into them, we gain power. Jay talks about the monk's practice of stillness, learning to sit with your mind without distraction. At first, it's uncomfortable. The noise gets louder. But with practice, something beautiful happens. The mind begins to settle. Beneath the noise, you find clarity. This is where meditation becomes essential, not as a spiritual luxury, but as mental hygiene, like brushing your teeth, but for your thoughts. He also explores identity, how our minds cling to labels. I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. I'm too old. I'm not ready. These mental stories become cages, but monks strip away labels to reveal the truth. You are not your thoughts, your emotions, or your job. You are awareness itself. And when you realize this, you no longer fear change, rejection, or failure, because you've found something deeper that doesn't depend on circumstances. Jay emphasizes the role of gratitude in mental mastery. The modern mind always wants more success, more validation, more stuff. Gratitude interrupts this loop. It shifts our focus from lack to abundance, from what's missing to what's present. Monks practice gratitude not just in success, but even in suffering, because every experience is a teacher. He encourages us to build a mental sanctuary, a daily space where we reconnect with stillness, truth, and presence. Whether it's 10 minutes of silence, a mindful walk, or a quiet journal entry, these rituals aren't just habits, they're mental anchors. Jay also addresses the modern epidemic of comparison and self-judgment. He reminds us that social media distorts reality. We compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Monks protect their minds by limiting external noise and nourishing their inner world. You don't need to live in a monastery to do this. You just need to create boundaries and rituals that serve your peace. In closing, Jay returns to the core idea. The quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, and the quality of your thoughts depends on how well you train your mind. Peace isn't found in some far-off place. It's already inside you, but to feel it, you must master the mind, not escape it. When you think like a monk, you don't eliminate problems. You change your relationship to them. You meet life not with fear, but with awareness. not with control, but with acceptance, not with noise, but with stillness. Chapter 8. Ego. We all wear invisible crowns. Some are made of pride, others of pain. Some shout, "I'm better than you," while others whisper, "I'm not enough." But either way, the ego speaks, and when we listen without awareness, it runs our lives. Jay Shetty challenges us in this chapter to confront the sneakiest force of all, not fear, not negativity, not distraction, but the ego. Because if you don't master your ego, it will silently sabotage your peace, your purpose, and your potential. Jay opens the chapter by dismantling a common myth. We often think ego is just arrogance or inflated self-importance. But in truth, ego is any image we have of ourselves that disconnects us from reality. It's not just about thinking too highly of yourself. Sometimes it's also about thinking too lowly of yourself. Both are driven by the same root, attachment to self-image. He shares an important monk principle. Ego is the enemy of growth. It either tells you you're already perfect or that you're too broken to try. Jay uses personal stories and ancient wisdom to show how ego often masquerades as confidence, ambition, or even humility. You think you're being strong or independent, but deep down you might just be protecting a fragile identity. Ego thrives in comparison. It wants to be better than, richer than, smarter than, and it fears anything that threatens its illusion of control. A major tool monks use to combat ego is detachment. This doesn't mean caring less. It means caring without ownership. If someone criticizes your idea, the ego takes it personally. But if you're detached, you see criticism as information, not an attack on your worth. This mindset shift makes you resilient, not reactive. Jay gives us practical ways to identify ego in our daily lives. Do you get defensive quickly? Do you find yourself comparing your progress to others? Do you feel angry when you're not acknowledged or praised? He says when the ego runs the show, we're always in performance mode. We do things not for fulfillment, but for attention. We post for likes. We work for approval. We chase success not for joy, but validation. The ego tricks us into believing that external status equals internal value. And that's why we often feel empty even after big achievements. Jay explains that monks train themselves to ask not, "How will this make me look?" but "Is this aligned with my values?" That simple shift changes the way you approach everything: work, relationships, even failure. Another powerful lesson in this chapter is the idea of servant leadership. In monk culture, leadership isn't about power or prestige. It's about humble service. A true leader doesn't need recognition. They lead because it's their dharma. Ego wants hierarchy, purpose wants harmony. To help us apply this, Jay offers a powerful mantra. I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. This mind twister reveals how much of our ego is built on imagined judgments. We live in fear of what others might think, and that fear often holds us back from authenticity. But when you stop living for applause and start living for alignment, your ego begins to dissolve, and in its place, humility, peace, and clarity arise. Jay also brings up the importance of gratitude as the antidote to ego. Gratitude softens pride. It reminds us we didn't get here alone. It grounds us in humility. It shifts our focus from "I deserve" to "I'm blessed." Finally, he shares monk practices to reduce ego daily. Reflect on your motives. Why am I really doing this? Embrace failure as a teacher, not a threat. Celebrate others without feeling less yourself. Spend time in silence, because ego can't survive in stillness. Closing thought. Jay ends this chapter with a truth that stays with you. The ego makes us believe we are the center of the universe, but the monk mind knows we are only a part of it. When you learn to live not from ego, but from purpose, not from pride, but from peace, you begin to operate in true power. Not loud, flashy power, but the quiet strength that changes lives. Chapter 9, in gratitude. You think you need more to feel better? More success, more love, more time. But what if the peace you're chasing doesn't lie in gaining anything, but in recognizing what you already have? Jay Shetty says it plainly. Gratitude is not just a feeling, It's a discipline that transforms how we see the world. And in this chapter, he reveals how monks train their minds to see abundance, where most people only see lack. Jay begins the chapter with a powerful insight. Most people are trapped in a cycle of when-then thinking. When I get the promotion, then I'll be happy. When I find love, then I'll feel whole. When I have more money, then life will be easier. But monks live in the now, and the tool that helps them stay present and joyful is gratitude. Jay explains that gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It's about seeing clearly. It's about focusing your mind on what's going right instead of obsessing over what's going wrong. And in doing so, you rewire your brain to look for blessings instead of burdens. He introduces a practice used in monk life called daily gratitude reflection. Every evening, monks write down 3 things they're grateful for, not generic things like my family or food, but specific moments. The way the sunlight came through the window during morning meditation, the kindness of a stranger holding the door, the quiet moment of stillness before bed. This practice cultivates a mindset of abundance and trains the mind to focus on presence, not absence. Jay also dives into the science behind gratitude. Studies show that grateful people sleep better, have stronger immune systems, experience less anxiety, and even live longer. Gratitude isn't just spiritual, it's biological. It changes your emotional baseline. It strengthens your resilience in difficult times. But Jay doesn't shy away from the hard truth. Gratitude is hardest when you need it most. He shares a story of how, during his monk years, he faced intense physical discomfort and loneliness. Yet the senior monks told him, now is the time to double down on gratitude. At first he resisted, but eventually he began finding beauty even in the struggle. The breath in his lungs, the simplicity of shared silence, the learning hidden inside discomfort. And that shift changed everything. Jay offers practical ways to bring gratitude into daily life. 1. Gratitude before goals. Before setting goals, pause and list what you're already thankful for. It grounds you in joy, not desperation. 2. Gratitude in conflict. When arguing with someone, think of one thing about them you're grateful for. It softens anger and restores perspective. 3. Gratitude during waiting. Instead of being irritated in traffic or in line, use the moment to reflect on what's going right in your life. 4. Gratitude for challenges. Even pain is a teacher. Ask, what is this struggle showing me? It turns suffering into self-growth. He also warns about what kills gratitude, entitlement and comparison. Entitlement says, I deserve this. Comparison says, why them and not me? Both rob you of the present. Monks combat this by repeating the mantra, I have enough, I am enough, I do enough. Jay explains that the ultimate spiritual mindset is one of contented ambition, where you strive for more, not from a place of scarcity, but from deep thankfulness for what already is. One of the most touching parts of this chapter is a meditation Jay teaches. Every morning, hold your hand to your heart and say, today is a gift. I will not waste it. This simple act reminds you, nothing is guaranteed. And that's exactly what makes everything precious. Closing thought. Jay ends the chapter with a profound reminder. Gratitude doesn't just make your life better. It makes you better. When you begin to see through the lens of gratitude, your world changes. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Chapter 10. Relationships. We spend our lives looking for the one, the perfect friend, the loyal partner, the ideal family. But what if the relationship you need to fix first is the one with yourself? Jay Shetty uncovers one of the biggest monk lessons in this chapter. You don't find love, you build it. You don't deserve love, you learn to give it. This chapter isn't just about romance. It's about mastering every kind of human connection with ancient monk wisdom and modern insight. Jay starts by reminding us of something simple but often forgotten. Our relationships define the quality of our lives. We can have money, success, fame, but if our relationships are broken, we'll feel hollow. Monks believe that the people you surround yourself with are either fueling your flame or snuffing it out. That's why they are extremely intentional about connection. Jay breaks down three major types of relationships. 1. Toxic relationships. 2. Neutral relationships. 3. Nourishing relationships. He explains that most of us stay too long in toxic ones out of guilt or fear. Neutral relationships drain our time without giving us joy or growth. But nourishing ones, they challenge us, support us, and reflect who we're becoming. He shares a powerful monk analogy. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, but only if you walk with the right people. To help us understand our relationships better, Jay offers the doshas model, a monk-based system of personality types. Vata, creative, spontaneous but anxious. Pitta, ambitious, focused but can be controlling. Kapha, calm, grounded, but can become lazy. He explains that understanding people's mental energies helps us create compassion instead of conflict. When we know how others process the world, we stop taking things personally and start communicating with more empathy. Jay dives deep into how monks approach love. They don't see love as possession. Love is not, you belong to me. It's, I honor your journey and choose to walk beside you. Real love, he says, comes from service, not selfishness. It's built on values, not vibes. The monk definition of love is to wish someone well, even when you don't get something in return. He teaches a method monks use to build connection. 1. Deep listening. Listen not just to reply, but to feel. 2. Shared values. Ask, what matters most to both of us? 3. Non-attachment. Don't confuse love with control or obsession. Jay reveals that most relationships break down because people focus more on chemistry than character. Chemistry is exciting. Character is consistent. Monks choose connection based on long-term alignment, not short-term attraction. He also addresses forgiveness, a key theme in this chapter. Holding on to resentment is like carrying a burning coal. It only hurts you. He shares a monk story of a man who asked his guru how to deal with betrayal. The guru said, clean your side of the street. That's all you can do. Forgiveness, Jay says, doesn't mean forgetting. It means letting go of the story that keeps you stuck. Jay also gives practical advice for nourishing relationships. Spend uninterrupted time together without phones. Express appreciation regularly, even for the small things. Ask deeper questions like, what do you need from me this week emotionally? And most importantly, don't try to change people. Accept them or walk away. He also emphasizes the importance of solitude. You can't connect well with others if you haven't learned how to enjoy your own company. Time alone isn't loneliness. It's preparation for meaningful connection. Monks spend hours in silence, not to escape others, but to meet themselves. And in that quiet space, they build the foundation of love, respect, and self-worth, which they then bring into every relationship. Closing thought. Jay closes the chapter with this powerful truth. Healthy relationships don't complete you. They amplify the completeness you've already built within yourself. The love you give is a mirror of the peace you hold. And when you choose to connect with values, empathy, and service, you don't just find better people, you become one. Chapter 11, Service. In a world that constantly asks, what can I get? Monks ask, what can I give? We chase purpose. We chase fulfillment. But the truth Jay Shetty reveals is simple. The highest purpose is service. Because when you serve, you grow. When you give, you heal. This final chapter is a powerful conclusion, not just to the book, but to the monk mindset. It teaches you how to live a life that is bigger than yourself. Jay opens this chapter by asking a deep question. What is your duty to the world? Most people believe their purpose lies in passion or talent, but monks believe purpose is found in service, in how you use your time, energy, and abilities to uplift others. He explains that real fulfillment doesn't come from success, money, or fame. It comes from impact, from knowing that someone's life is better because you existed. And that kind of joy, Jay says, is not fragile. It's eternal. Jay breaks service down into two parts. 1. Internal service. To yourself. Before you can give to others, you must fill your own cup. Jay emphasizes that serving yourself isn't selfish, it's strategic. You serve yourself by resting, by meditating, by healing your wounds, because only a whole heart can offer love that lasts. 2. External service to the world. Jay encourages us to ask, how can I use my unique strengths to make someone's life better? He introduces the circle of influence idea. Instead of trying to save the whole world, start small. Start with one person, one cause, one daily act of kindness. Even monks, he says, didn't set out to change the world. They just showed up with love, again and again, in silence, in service, in stillness. Over time, those small actions rippled out into massive waves of impact. Jay also shares a touching story from his monk life. He remembers sweeping temple floors day after day with no recognition, no applause, no validation. But over time, he realized something profound. When you do something for others without expecting anything in return, your soul expands. That's when he discovered true joy. Not from being seen, but from being useful. Jay offers practical tools for service. Acts of kindness, leave a kind note, help someone without being asked. Time over money. Sometimes giving your time or your presence means more than any donation. Mentorship. Share your knowledge with someone behind you on the path. Listening. Sometimes the most powerful act of service is just being there without judgment. He challenges the common idea that service has to be grand or public. Service isn't always founding a charity or giving a TED Talk. Sometimes a service is helping your parents without being told, supporting a friend who's depressed, offering forgiveness to someone who hurt you. Jay reminds us that ego dies in service, because service takes you out of your own head. It humbles you, it grounds you, it gives your pain a purpose, and your success a direction. And he offers one of the most beautiful truths in the book. The more you serve, the more you understand who you are. Because in service, you see your strengths clearly. You also see your flaws. And most importantly, you see how connected you are to everything and everyone around you. He also talks about legacy. When your time here ends, people won't remember your job title or your bank balance. They'll remember how you made them feel, how you helped them rise, how you showed up with love. And that's why monks believe that service is the most spiritual act you can perform. Closing thought. Jay concludes the chapter with a powerful challenge. Let your life be a message of love. Let your actions be your loudest prayer. When you start living in service, whether to one person or to millions, you stop chasing success, and success starts following you. Because the greatest purpose is to lift others as you climb. Conclusion. We live in a noisy world, full of deadlines, distractions, and demands pulling us in every direction. But Jay Shetty's Think Like a Monk invites us to do something revolutionary, to slow down, to look within, and to live with intention. This book isn't just a guide, it's a mirror. It reflects who we are when the masks are off. It reveals the noise we've mistaken for truth. And most importantly, it reminds us that we already have the answers. We just need silence to hear them. Each chapter shows a path, from fear to clarity, from ego to humility, from chaos to peace. It teaches us that purpose isn't found in what you own, but in what you give. That love isn't about holding tight, but about letting others be. And that true success isn't in climbing higher, but in lifting others as you rise. You don't have to become a monk, but if you think like one, you'll learn how to train your mind, master your emotions, build meaningful relationships, and live a life that feels light, clear, and full of meaning. So take a breath, let go of what you can't control, and start showing up as the person you were always meant to be. Because peace isn't a place you go, it's something you build thought by thought, one silent choice at a time. If this summary helped you reflect or breathe deeper, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us here at Summary Lens, where we bring life-changing books into your world with calm, clarity, and insight. Your journey to a mindful, purposeful life starts right here.